Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob, and today we'll be jumping into some Tales from Tech Support. Before we start, check out the KCC Discord listed at the top of the description down below. You can chat with me and a whole bunch of other KCC viewers there. I hope to see you there soon. Our first story today comes to us from BamBam67. Oops, laptop struggles are real. Let's jump right in. Let me take you back to the late 90s. Our company had over 150 consultants out in the field all over the US installing PeopleSoft. Consultants would at times be away for a week or two at a time. Most of the time they would fly home for the weekend, but if it was go live time, they'd stay the weekend for the Monday morning launch. All that to say that one of our best consultants was away on a big account and finally was able to go home after 2.5 weeks. When the consultant supervisor tried to contact him via email, there was no response for a couple days. IT, this is OP. Hey, could you give consultant a call? He said he's having trouble with his laptop. Of course, I'll call him right now. I hang up and call consultant at home. They usually had 3 to 4 days between deployments. Hello? Hey consultant, this is OP from the help desk. I heard from consultant supervisor that you're having some issues. I'm hoping I can help. I'm not sure you can. Why not? What's going on? It's kind of embarrassing. Don't worry, I've heard it all, and I had. Well, I flew home on Friday night. I hadn't been home in weeks. My wife and kids all came to pick me up at the airport. Okay, wondering where this is going. They met me in the airport with signs welcoming home. It was adorable. I bet. Sounds great. We get to the car and we load everything up, and I back out of the parking spot. I hit a bump and hit the gas to go over it. Realizing what happened, it wasn't a bump, was it? No, I set my suitcase and computer bag down so I could load the kids in the car. I put my bags in the back, but I missed my computer bag and ran over it. Oh my. Okay, how bad is it? First off, this was completely my fault. I will pay for the replacement. Let's worry about that later. Do you have it there with you? Yes, sounding a bit dejected. Can you describe the damage? It's really bad. You know how laptops are usually flat? This is a U. I can't even open the lid. I'm afraid I've lost all my notes and files. Consultant supervisor will fire me for sure. Side note, IT had just sent out a message a week before asking people to take better care of their equipment and treat it like their own. It was a bit stern and straight to the point, and some people thought it could be a termination offense, even though that was never stated. Look, no one is getting fired. What I need you to do is pack that thing up the best you can and overnight it to me. Yes, of course, I go right now. Great, as soon as I get it and take a look, I'll give you a call. The next day we received the package. The IBM 760 laptop was munched. What I found out later was that his car was an SUV. It rolled on and over that bag. He wouldn't send the bag back, he was going to buy his own replacement. I grabbed our department toolbox that we kept in the server room and was able to use a screwdriver to pry open the top. Because it was now U-shaped, the hinges finally gave way and snapped. Pieces of laptop flew across the room as my coworkers watched me operate. They cringed at the sight and sound of cracking, mangled plastic. As I've said before, the great thing about that laptop was how all parts were modular and replaced very easily. As I carefully discarded the screen that was shattered beyond imagination, taking the brunt of the tire, I went to work on the keyboard. Like a messed up Scrabble board, letters are scattered and missing. I tore the keyboard off to discover the condition of the real treasure inside, the hard drive. As I pull away the last bits of keyboard, there it was, the hard drive nested inside this mangled piece of plastic. I was careful to take the battery out first. It looked slightly damaged. I did my best to gently remove the hard drive. As I took it out, I could hear the cracking of plastic, not wanting to give up its treasure. Inspecting the hard drive, there wasn't a scratch on it. Someone get me a new shell. Someone scrambled behind me and grabbed a brand new IBM 760 shell and placed on our shared center table in our IT room. I placed the hard drive in it and it snapped in like normal, put in a new battery and was ready to test. I slid the power button to on and the IBM screen pops up. Good so far. The screen went dark. This was the moment of truth. You could only hear the mechanical sounds of the drive spinning as we watched, holding our breath. When the Windows logo appeared, you would have thought we just won the Super Bowl. Cheers and high fives for everyone. It booted to the login screen and acted as if nothing had happened to it. I called Consultant. This is Consultant. I've got some good news and bad news. What's the bad news? Your laptop is a complete loss. Except what? Except the good news is we were able to recover the hard drive. We're packing it up right now. You should receive it tomorrow morning. Oh my God, thank you so much. I have to call Consultant Supervisor and let him know. No worries. I just talked to him and let him know we swapped out your laptop for another one. Did you tell him what happened? Yep. Told him you were having trouble with the shell, not a total lie, and it needed replacement. He was happy to get you back online and set up your next gig. Consultant was a great person and always took care of his computer equipment, so I wanted to do him a solid. As for the broken IBM shell, I used that in our training session for new hires on computer equipment responsibility. Needless to say, it was very effective. Everyone was happy, back to work, and I had a visual aid as a warning to new hires. All right, everyone, I have to get back to work myself. Until the next time, remember, when someone calls you for help, you are their solution. Helping others is its own reward. Cheers! It's nice to see OP helping out the consultant and writing the repair notes to say that it was just a problem with the case and not something that was caused by the consultant. Awesome work by them. Down in the comment section, a Reddit user put together a list of office talk, and you'd be surprised what you can describe. Performed a manual active cache clear, turned it off and on again. Reseated cable to perform a visual check, unplugged and plugged it back in. Adjusted internal resources to improve efficiency, murdered stupid coworker and hid the body. Performed recommended manufacturer maintenance, unjammed the printer by following the instructions on the screen. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Responsible Today 763. You own a what? Let's jump right in. Kinda front desk, we had a few desks that shared first contact with customers. Mine was the repair desk technically, but I could do standard sales, customer refunds, stock checks, and back orders too. My desk was also the hub for floor walkers and security's radio charging docks. Elsewhere, we had the checkouts and business customer lounge, giant perspex box with sofa, coffee machine, and terminal for payments and basic forms. This particular post involves ink cartridge refills and replacement for printers. For those unfamiliar with these things, there are literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different ink cartridges and designs. A long time ago, there only used to be perhaps 20 different ink cartridges for a small amount of photo quality machines for the domestic market and fewer for the expensive office types. It used to be a very controlled purchase because this stuff was very expensive to begin with. Now, you can get a cartridge for perhaps 10 cents per unit or less. We used to refill cartridges with syringes and needles with selected shades of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and different brands had different shades of each. Whenever we offered our services, we asked customers to sign a waiver which told the customer, your experience of color and quality of your printing may differ from the original brand's expectations. In other words, your kid's skin tone in a printed photo might look different from reality, and you'd need to adjust print settings accordingly. We store these waivers in conjunction with a customer number and copies of receipts for various uses, including the unlikely event of an audit from the ink companies we had licenses with, and to identify repeat customers who might benefit from a promotion or two. Anyway, an early Karen walked right up to my desk and slapped down a mess of paper and ink cartridge stuffed in a file transparency pocket and a receipt, demanding a refund. Okay, fair enough. I asked what happened and they said, the machine leaked everywhere and messed up 16 copies. Wait, 16? I thought this number was odd. Surely you'd stop printing after the first or third mess. I'm trying to print party invitations for my kid, and I can't because you effed up the refill. I stared at her for a moment, but was willing to overlook the rudeness on account of the woman's anger. What the F are you gonna do about it? Second strike. Well, let's see. What printer are you using? What's that got to do with it? I need to know which brand of ink I need to check. Oh, it's a BMW. What? To my knowledge, they don't nor ever have made domestic printers. Maybe something in their own offices, but I highly doubt it. A BMW? They do printers now, do they? I lazily slip on a glove, latex-free rubber-like glove, and pick up the mess, taking out the cartridge. On inspection, I can just about make out the Canon logo, and I'm about to access the records with my clean hand, but pause on the next sentence coming out of her mouth. Duh. Okay, I want to speak to a manager. Third strike. I'm the manager on shift right now. How can I help? No, I want to speak to your supervisor. Oh, the owner? They're away on business elsewhere, but I can take a message or give you their email address if you'd like. Can't I just take my money back now? I'm sorry, but all refunds need to be assessed and still take 5 working days to process. I gingerly place the ink cartridge back down on the messy photo paper. You know what? I bought the printer from you too. I'll come back with it and you can refund me for that too. She snatched up the mess, stuffed it in her handbag. 3 days later, I'd almost forgotten the incident when Karen came back with a big gray Brother printer and slammed it on the desk, breaking a chip off of the paper tray in the process. I glanced up at a nearby security camera watching my till and looked back at the customer. There! She also whipped out the transparency pocket and receipt and slapped that on my desk too. I picked up the Canon cartridge and held it next to the Brother printer. Thing is, there is no way that cartridge would fit into the Brother cartridge holder. They were 2 completely different shapes, and Canon usually held individual colors in individual slots, while Brother had a cartridge for 3 colors and 1 for black. There is no way I knew that the 2 could ever meet. I opened the Brother printer cover and peered into it with incredulous horror. It looked like a blood bag had exploded in there. The rubbery ribbon that pulled the print head back and forth was nearly torn in 2, and the carrier was practically demolished. I looked closer and saw what looked like deliberate marks from a knife or screwdriver or something. It was all chewed up, but from an external direction. The machine did the rest of it to itself from the mechanical action. Ma'am, did you do this yourself? Well, I had to. It wouldn't fit. My boyfriend had to use a hammer. Your husband? You didn't do it? That's not the point. I made it fit, but it didn't work. My boy's party is in 2 weeks and I'm sorry, madam, but I cannot help you and I have to ask you to leave. I just didn't have the energy to deal with this stupid woman, and we're always reminded that we don't have to serve anyone if we don't want to. Time wasters or abusive customers are a big no-no. Oh boy, did she rage. Threw the printer at me over the desk and prompted a police call while security went into bouncer mode. They calmed her down outside and, when the owner got back the following weekend, reviewed the security footage. A magistrate later ruled in our favor for damages and distress to our staff as a whole. Turns out, in the hearing, the Karen was actually on meds for psychological stuff, paranoid schizophrenia I think it was, and had a history of kicking off in other shops all over town, but wasn't getting social services, county budgets, etc., but magistrate enforced her rights to it and other help later. Bittersweet story, really. Mental health is a big struggle, but yeah, don't serve if you don't feel like it. Still, a BMW printer. I still smile trying to imagine one. You know, it doesn't surprise me that Karen thought it was a BMW printer because she acts like a typical BMW driver. Can't wait to see the comments on this video. Our last story today comes to us from Electrical Modes, guy who lied on his CV. Let's jump right in. We had a guy join our IT team, only 5 of us for a company of about 1,000 around the country. He was meant to be an escalation point for myself and another member, so we didn't have to go so high up for help. Dude was so bad I couldn't believe it. He didn't understand how AD worked or 365 or anything. He shipped out laptops without power supplies. He's setting up phones without MDM on them. He's creating accounts on the wrong domain. He spent like a day changing the settings on an iPad so it looks pretty and easy for the users, despite our guide telling us to standardize as much as possible to provide easier support. Anyway, this is the funniest one. A user had a problem with her printer, so he went to the user and checked on her PC. He decided to image her PC. Slightly disgruntled, The user logs back in an hour later and the printer is still not working. She politely logged a ticket asking for help. He walks over there and tells her she doesn't know what she's talking about and that she is not IT. He checks the printer, no messages. He checks the PC, grrr. He images the PC again, walks away, and leaves for the day. Leaves a note in the ticket saying that he has imaged the PC and that the user is annoying. WTF? User can't print the next day, at which point he escalates it backwards to me. He is meant to be senior to me by about $15,000. User had just been selecting the wrong printer, as our printers are not easy to identify by names. I fixed that. Printed and was successful. She then asked about her Acrobat Pro, which I had to reinstall, reset her account password and login. Some macros for Excel needed to be set up. She spent the rest of the day getting her bookmarks back and getting the PC back to how she liked it. Felt bad for her. At least she hadn't saved work on the C drive because he just imaged it without even asking her. Well, imaging in some cases can be the fastest way to fix a problem, but they definitely should have asked her if there was anything on that drive that needed to be saved first. I mean, there could have been a lot of work that just went straight down the drain. Check out all 3 OPs at the links in the description down below. Remember to check out the KCC Discord linked at the top of the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you tomorrow.